Jordan, in our meeting yesterday, you'd mentioned the new season of Black Mirror.
Yes. For people who don't know, it's like, what if your phone was mental?
What if your phone? It was just like wacky, dude. And also, have you noticed we live in a society?
Looking at my hands, shaking.
It's like I do think that Black Mirror has had some heaters, but it's also had some beaters.
I said it before, I say it again. I don't think there is a show. It's one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, I watch every single, I follow the same team and I watch them every single season and I wear their jersey. And then I'm like, no, I hate that team. I'm like, I watch every single season of Black Mirror as soon as it comes out. I binge watch it. I rewatch old episodes and I complain about it constantly, but there's no way to deny it's one of my favorite shows. Because what else would constitute that? Because it does include some of what I think are literally the best episodes of television ever made. And then stinkers that shouldn't be stinkers, even if it's a cringe premise, it's done so poorly.
It like doesn't make sense.
It is
like I was like beside myself. I was like hanging out with a friend and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to text Jordan my thoughts really quick. Because
Should I read them?
Yeah. Well, so this would include some spoilers for episodes 1 through 3, but mainly episode 1 of the new season of Black Mirror called Common People,
which has the unfortunately terminal diagnosis of being one of those first episode of a season of Black Mirror that is awful, which they keep doing. That happens all the time for some reason.
Yeah.
This discussion includes a discussion of like family member passing away and like questions of euthanasia and stuff like that. But it is, I will say, so absurd.
Do you need any context before you read these? I actually don't know.
I think they are this actually is a perfect experience for watching it.
Okay, great.
I think this summarizes it. I'm watching Common People. It's fuck Nick pissing me off. It's fucking pissing me off. This is the stupid shit I've ever seen in my life. Why are they making Rashida Jones do this?
I'm a big I have had a crush on Rashida Jones for most of my adult life.
9-minute break. I am so mad. This is so stupid. It's only getting stupider. Wow, this is just comedy. It doesn't even remotely succeed at what it's trying to do. Now introducing a Rivermind Fent. Oh my god, the parkour thing? I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
This episode is What If Netflix Was Your Brain? No additional. The worst episodes of Black Mirror are typically where the none of the lore is in there's no background gags, with a better word for them. There's no like, oh, if you know, one of my favorite episodes, everybody hated it at the time because people are stupid and I'm smart. But An Entire History of You, it's the third episode of the first season. It came after two kind of more bombastic episodes. I'm having sex with a pig, and I'm on X Factor, but it's mental. What if your phone was a TV? Mm-hmm. There's that bombast missing the third one, but it's all about, you know, everyone has a chip in their brain. You record everything you see, and one of the teeny weeny little details of that episode is that part of the reason this guy's kind of crashing out is because his career is falling apart because he is a lawyer and they don't matter anymore because everyone records everything they see.
Right.
I didn't notice he was a lawyer till the third time I watched it because the world building serves the story as opposed to the exact opposite, which is every episode that's like, what if you got a like every time you went to the toilet?
It just feels like, okay, I think that when Black Mirror succeeds, it is like thought-provoking in some sort of novel way.
Sticks with you.
And sticks with you. And that is increasingly difficult as the landscape of technology in our lives has changed. And it runs this cautionary tale risk of like, when the technology catches up to some of the premises, they can start to like lose their sheen a little bit.
Yeah, because we know the result.
Because we know the result. One weird thing about the later seasons of Black Mirror is that they're no longer trying to project forward into the dark spiral of technology becoming more deeply ingrained into our lives. It's almost like a commentary on the current moment.
Yeah, it should be called Bad Phone.
And then when it reveals that it knows less about the thing that it's talking about than I do, or than even the average viewer might.
It speaks volumes that the prohibitive amount of money for the dilemma that the couple in the first episode bump into is the amount of money that rich writers think poor people have.
Well, okay. So I'm just gonna full stop spoil this episode. Episode's called Common People.
It should be called What If Netflix Was Put in Your Head?
Yeah, no, because literally it feels like a fucking comedy. It felt like an SNL sketch.
Yes, it is the parody.
It like has beats that are comedy beats, but are not played for comedy. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
And it does two very prolific comedic actors.
Chris
That's
O'Dowd
another thing that's kind of
Chris O'Dowd, right?
Chris O'Dowd, yeah.
and Rashida Jones.
Chris O'Dowd, IT Crowd.
Chris O'Dowd from The Crowd. They're a couple that they're a little poor. You know what I mean? Like they live a normal life, but the best times they have are going to the restaurant and eating a burger.
They're a normal couple that like while the writer's room is like, what are we getting from Sweet Green? And like they're ordering the thing and they're like, they're a normal couple that, I don't know, owns a house.
They actually like live in a beautiful home. And
like, well,
but they drive like a 1976 Volvo. And like none of it like adds up. And they're like a little dirty looking. I feel like they're like I feel like they make them look more disheveled.
They're just boho like core. They're chic.
It like doesn't yeah. So then and Rashida Jones is a teacher, so they're like, okay, what kind of jobs don't make money? Okay, teachers.
Yeah, what do we got?
And then what does Chris O'Dowd do? He works at the manual labor factory.
He works at the moving boxes and metal around.
No, literally, it's the, like making things spark with a tool.
It's like every time you see his work, it's like one guy welding, and another going like, how many wood do we need?
And then 12 guys standing a fucking round. So where does it start pissing me off? Okay, so
title sequence.
Yeah. So Rashida Jones is a teacher, and she while doing her teaching, before doing her teaching, we get a little bit of a reveal, which is it almost doesn't feel like it even needs to be a part of the episode, but fortunately for us, it is.
In case you thought it was too short.
One of Chris O'Dowd's, Mike is his character's name. One of Mike's coworkers is
sociopath.
He's a sociopath, and he's fucking around on the job.
He's not carrying a box.
By the way, Chris O'Dowd's character Mike, who works at the manual labor factory, has a job that is the embodiment of the meme "Name a job harder than this," and it's the people working at the oil
the guys
refinery.
coming in mud pulling that big thing.
Yeah, like literally, they're like, he needs to be doing good, honest work, and then a fucking Hollywood elite is like, what is? We're on season 7 of this, and who's the dude who writes all the episodes?
Charlie Brooker.
Yeah, Charlie,
who he's like a great guy talent. He is a well-off British guy. That reason he knows that Cameron fucked pigs is because he went to Oxford, Cambridge kind of environment. It's
right.
Not his fault, but he's old money.
It's like just out of touch, right? But like what blew my mind is that he wrote other episodes that weren't as bad as this, and so I'm like, what were you fucking?
It makes you wonder what the actual,
because it's a writer's room.
One of the
you would
issues-
assume
No, that doesn't happen anymore.
he's
though.
writing it all himself.
Like I
He
think
writes
the
the
way.
first 2 or 3, I guess, with Bisha K. Ali. I'm not sure.
So I think the way a lot of shows are working now, they have essentially one writer. And if that writer requests a mini room, where the mini room just pitches them
Demi
ideas.
was talking about this a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, they needed to have this part where there's a sociopath who works at the working factory, and he kills time by watching Twitch.tv. No, just kidding. By watching TikTok Live. No, just kidding. It's a website called. Now I'm gonna step aside to say we've experienced a long line of fake companies in our time. This one is the most on-the-nosedly called Dummies.
Dumb Dummies, but with an M and no B.
Yeah, like dummies. It's so dumb. So it's called Dumb Dummies, and it's where people go to torture themselves for content, but to make a pittance of cash.
It is insane. It makes you wonder whether the incredibly small amount of money is a misunderstanding of the economy, or if it's just a misunderstanding of the media landscape.
It's like, I'm not saying that Twitch streamers all Twitch streamers are swimming in cash, because it is one of those situations where it's like, if you're the creme de la creme, but we know a lot of people who are like, trying to cross over into doing it full time. Yeah. But none of them are drinking piss for $20.
It is
one-time use only.
And the issue, one of the problems also, this is one of those, it's a contemporary Black Mirror episode where it's sure, they're fudging the timeline a little bit, but it's modern. So it's not like, they're not driving a weird, fancy, smooth car or a hover car. There's nothing to extrapolate from it. The show is telling us this is normal reality, but there's robo-bees. And outside of that, it's distracting because we live now.
That's the thing. It's like we live in this time.
We're alive.
This could have by spending, I don't know, 60 minutes watching streamers, you would get a better sense of, like, you could have fleshed that out in a more meaningful way. The things that people do, and this is a trigger warning for like body horror because it's not real, but it'll be like pull out a tooth for like $1. Cut back to Rashida Jones teaching class, and she drops dead. Basically, she
does a comical collapse in a wide shot, and
it's like we never get a. Here's where this came from. It's just, oh, surprise, Rashida Jones died, but it's because she had like a brain issue.
She falls over the same way you would if a grand piano landed on your head in a cartoon. She goes like,
yeah. And then here comes the whole episode. Look out. Here comes the plot. There's an experimental, like they're talking to a doctor. They say, well, if you had asked me a week ago, I wouldn't have had anything, but there might be something we can try. Enter Tracy Ellis Ross, a person who a year ago had an experimental procedure, but now is the CEO or whatever. She is the salesperson / only point person for this new experimental biotech company called Rivermind, where they solve your brain injury by creating a model of your brain, storing it as a backup, and then basically 3D printing that piece of your brain or whatever. They have like a hand wavy way, because technology doesn't exist, so you always have to be like, oh yeah, and we create this organic matter. That's the breakthrough.
And when they do this is where I'm, despite the initial 10 minutes just being like not very, literally just not interesting in its construction,
sure,
and this dialogue just not being that compelling, this is where I'm like, okay.
I actually have no problem with this concept. If there was a breakthrough like this, a company would create a product out of it.
Yeah.
However, where it starts to become absurd, they do the surgery and then she immediately wakes up and they're like back to normal. Except here's the thing. Rivermind is a subscription plan.
Like
it's now your brain's Netflix. Now your brain's a subscription. You have to pay so much a month, and they don't even know going into it how much it's going to be a month. Oh, actually it's $300 a month. Well, that's a lot.
Surprise.
Yeah, $300 a month is a lot. And then
good for a brain. I'd say good for a brain.
It does keep you alive. Health insurance doesn't obviously cover this. This thing is so new, yet doctors are like promoting it. And now Rashida Jones has subscription brain. And the way that they describe, and this is where I got mad at the TV. They describe how it works, and they said that they use the cloud to replace the part of the brain.
Yes.
And I said, they would never do that. What happens if you go under a tunnel? Do you just fucking die? You know what I mean? Like, so she has subscription brain, and they, and she has...
Dude, these days, jeez.
Yeah, she has subscription brain. And then they're like, we use cell towers, but they're cell towers that we own. Also a thing that would not happen, because you would not create infrastructure, because the issue is they drive into like a new neighborhood and Rashida Jones just fucking dies again.
Yeah, there's no other like brain death from it. She just goes to super sleep.
But then there starts this series of the couple going back to Tracy Ellis Ross and expressing a new problem they have with the product. And every single time, like a fucking improv scene escalating its comedy, there is a new product that she's trying to sell them. And the game is, oh, you didn't know this important detail about the thing that you 100% would have found out if you were signing up for something like this.
And with a little button, the button on every exchange is, he is a more insulting name for the old one.
Yeah. So literally it's like she like goes into a new neighborhood and doesn't have service, and so she fucking dies again. And then they go, then they back up, they turn around, they take a Yui, she's back. And then they go, oh, actually only one neighborhood range. Your T-Mobile range is just actually fucking you
gotta hit up Spectrum
Burbank
support,
or whatever.
Or your fucking Parabellum explodes.
And then they go back, and for the first time, Tracy Ellis Ross is like, oh yeah, well, we don't, that's outside of our service area. but good news, we just installed new towers that'll support that, but you have to sign up for Rivermind Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, Rivermind Plus? And she's like, yeah, what you have is Rivermind Common.
Which terminology-wise, I get what they're doing.
Yeah, Common would be the internal name.
But that is not what something would get published as.
No, literally, it's like it's basically, oh no, you've got Rivermind Broke Bitch.
Yeah.
And actually and you need to upgrade. And by the way, it's an additional $800 a month.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, we can't afford that. And then,
which now is in the realm of like a financial issue, but the initial $300 in the text, like in the way that it is produced, it seems indistinguishable to them. They're like, well, they are struggling for that $300, and then when they raise this price and they get it, they go, I'll just take some overtime.
They get it, and now the cycle continues. What's the new problem? Rashida Jones is doing ads. She starts, what if your brain did ads? Because you like are on an ad-based subscription. What is the message of that? Is the message that like I don't like Spotify ads? Is the message that Netflix has a lower tier subscription where you pay for ads?
I think the message is, what if your brain did ads?
Yeah, no, because it is just the worst. And guess why that would never happen? No advertiser would pay
terrifying.
When Rashida Jones is having sex with her husband to go, are you having trouble getting it up? Try this ED medication. And then she like phases back in and is like, what happened? And
he's
like,
they're pushing their luck constantly because, again, it's a contemporary story. There's some really surreal episodes of Black Mirror where you can get away with stuff like this because it's allegory.
It's trying to ground it in there. Like, these are these salt of the earth. That's a good thing, right? These are these salt of the earth people, the working class, blah, blah, blah.
At the box factory.
And then they're being, except for they're being tortured by a comic book villain of a corporation. And I'm like, you could actually make a much more nuanced critique of whatever you're trying to critique by grounding this a little bit more. Because the upgrade, this type of thing happens, but the upgrade isn't 2.5x.
It's more predatory.
Additionally,
It's
it's more insidious. It's more predatory.
Again, it's confused because they're doing two very broad allegories. One's supposed to be towards the medical system, but the medical system is already critiquable in the way it does work. You don't have to speculate, and they never talk about the expense of the surgery. They never get into any of that stuff. If that had bankrupted them and now there's a subscription, that would make sense. But instead, again, you set this in, I don't know, like, it's a society where all the cars float. Then I'm like, okay, I get it.
It's just they keep trying to ground it in like, okay, so now they're working class and now they have to work even more to make ends meet and keep Rashida Jones alive. And then it'll be like a scene of Chris O'Dowd, his character's name's Mike.
His name's IT Crowd.
Mr. IT Crowd is staring at his calendar and it's just like all working days. And now he goes no days off.
He's done the cartoon version of shift change. Where again, let's compare I'm like, well, what do poor people do? And he's just written overtime overtime for months. And you're like, I think he'd remember.
Yeah.
I think he'd know.
And guess what? Rashida Jones, oh, well, we've got to keep this game going because we're in an improv show and not a fucking dramatic episode of television.
She has to yes and it.
Yeah, and now, Rashida Jones, she's sleeping so long. She's sleeping for like 16 hours. Oh, now we got to go in to talk to Tracy Ellis Ross and say, hey, Tracy Ellis Ross, well, we're sleeping so much. And it's like, oh yeah, that's because, well, of course you're sleeping a lot because you're on Rivermind Plus. I mean, and now Rivermind Plus is actually called Rivermind Peasant or whatever.
Common fool.
Yeah, and you have to sleep because we're actually using your brain to mine Bitcoin. like that,
which cannot be more profitable than
she
brain.
doesn't say that, but like that is the allegory. She says we're using your brain to power our servers.
Which is like, okay,
and
so
like, yo, did anyone?
What's this a metaphor now?
This is like, you could take them to court if they don't like make any of this information available to you. It's like commandeering your brain. All of the little pieces they're playing with, I think, could have been handled in a more nuanced and interesting way. But it's taken to such a comical extreme when the characters themselves, none of it's actually played for comedy. So it'll be a scene with Rashida Jones, who's a teacher. The reason they have to get Plus is because she starts like doing ads at school. And a kid comes to her after class and she tells him to go to like religious conversion therapy or some shit.
Which actually, when that happened, I'm like, if this system were in place, that would be the advertiser. It would be something that was about proselytizing something without needing to sell anything.
Oh yeah, before that she does a thing where it's like she's giving a presentation and she starts doing a thing about cheese nugs, like to her whole class.
But that would work, but you can't target like that.
It's poorly thought out because why would they make it so that she doesn't have knowledge of the ads that she's running? Because it makes it very. It makes the ads ineffective because now she can't answer for anything that she just said.
Like every time you see a commercial on TV, it ends and it goes, "What just happened?"
And so she's like about to lose her job because she can't stop doing ads inappropriately.
You keep talking about the Manscaped balls attacker.
And then a thing that like is like a no one it's basically that. And this is an information that the average person doesn't have. But I'm like, no advertiser would pay for an audience of one.
Like
doesn't make sense. It's an impressions business, baby. Like
this must be costing more than a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, like what do you mean? Like it's extremely targeted, but like very poor. It basically it's not well thought out.
An episode everyone loves is the original USS Callister. Right?
Yeah.
I'd say that's one of the strongest Black Mirror episodes in terms of episodes that are kind of hyper real. And the technology in that episode is the game itself is a little out of touch. It wouldn't really work like that. It wouldn't be that successful. It's essentially just like a Star Trek simulator, but it's the most popular game on Earth. You put a little dot on your brain and you go, I'm Star Trek. It has a utility.
It reminded me of episode 3.
The allegory in that episode isn't about the mechanics of the world, right? That all serves a third dimension that is actually the interesting part. It's kind of a surprise, which is it's actually about an abusive dynamic. You can see it as a relationship, you can see it as a boss, it's anything. But a soy nice guy who, when given the opportunity, is a very bad guy. That Jesse Plemons plays excellently in that episode. If the episode was about how this video game made people crazy, which it could, because it is like a life simulator, the obvious way to go would be that. Then it would be so dumb because those games don't exist, won't exist, couldn't be allowed, and wouldn't be fun. It doesn't make, and they have he has like a cloning technology.
It's like the reason they do this is because it's written in the script and not. There's like the motivations like start to not make any sense.
Yeah,
and so it just jumps the shark so early, and nothing feels believable. So then, and it's about these like working class people being crunched by the medical system.
Great base for a premise. Of course,
it's
that's
like it's a real problem. And I'm like, why does this feel like a fucking joke?
Yeah.
Like it continues to escalate. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe we're still escalating this. Cause then they're like, watch this ad. And then they cut a fucking drug commercial for Rivermind Lux, where a woman literally says, and I texted it to Jordan, ever since my fatal liposuction procedure, is how the commercial introduced it.
And now it's like, okay, so what do we do? Is this parody world or
it's like literally a parody? Because then they do the other thing where it's like, okay, Lux, well, yeah, you were on Plus, but now it's lesser. And so I said, now premium is common and Lux is premium.
Dude, that's like having Netflix when you think about it.
Because the whole thing, you were in this like Twilight Zone of, is this a joke or not? Because none of these problems in real lives are a joke. And you're Mr. Hollywood on season 7 of your Hollywood show trying to be like, what are poor people like? So it's like that kind of message doesn't like land.
But the way he does it.
The way he does it, dude, he in the most graceful way possible, he suffocates her with a pillow.
It is.
Could not believe it.
That's what I want to do when I get an ad on Netflix. I wish I could set it up.
It literally felt like, because it was going to be that, or when she's Serena, he has a double-barreled shotgun.
I thought so too.
Like,
I literally thought,
I loved you.
there's a scene where Rashida Jones is in the foreground and he's like in the background and she looks away and Super Serena, I'm like, if he shoots her in the head right now, it would have been better than what actually happened.
The fact that he didn't, I was like, oh, are you, so she's not dying? Oh.
I
found the more weird,
I couldn't believe it.